There's more to you than you ever thought there was. Yeah, you're coming from the light.
What's up, guys? It is LJ here, Lawrencejame, coming at you from Lawrencejame Hearthstone. And today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about mistakes that I've noticed in Arena. I've done a lot of coaching lately, and these are some of the common mistakes that I've noticed. Not considering mana curve enough when drafting. A lot of people seem to struggle with the fact that they may need to take a card that's worse in quality over a card that's better in quality to perfect their mana curve, especially in the later stages of the draft. Some people value board control too high, which is a strange thing because most people think that board control is so important in Arena, which it is. It's very important, but sometimes when you overvalue board control, there becomes an issue where you're trading something like an Ogre into a Bloodfin Raptor, for example. Well, maybe that's the right play, maybe it's not. Maybe it's better to apply pressure, go to the face, and set yourself up for lethal sooner than later. And vice versa, a lot of people don't value it enough. A lot of people are just, if it's not a good trade, let's say it's the same thing, it's an Ogre versus a Bloodfin Raptor, a lot of people were like, we're just going to the face no matter what. Well, sometimes you do need to play around cards. Maybe you're very close to lethal. If they have a Blessing of Kings, for example, well, maybe you're dead, so you need to kill that Bloodfin Raptor to stay alive, and sometimes that's definitely the right play. Worrying about taking damage to your hero. This is not constructed. There's way less wombo combos. You guys don't need to play around Force of Nature, Savage, Roar. You don't need to play around an Enraged Gromish, for example. You can take damage to your face. Use that weapon to keep your minions on board. Another example would be, let's say you're playing a class that doesn't have a weapon. You're not going to take damage to your face that way. Well, another way would be, let's say there's a Venture Mercenary on the field and you have a lot of small minions. Your only way to clear that would be to send in all your small minions. Well, maybe you just need to accept the fact that you're going to take 7 damage to the face and you're going to keep your minions alive and you're just going to attack the face or make a different play that doesn't involve clearing your board to save yourself from taking 7 damage. Playing too fast. This is a mistake that I don't think people really realize that they're even making. Take your time. Slow down. There's a lot of issues that happen when you play fast. Hearthstone is a thinking game. It's not a reactionary game. It's not about how fast you can move your hands on the keyboard. It's a thinking game, and the only resource that you have to your advantage is time, and you need to take your time on these plays. Think through all your different plays. I've seen it so many times where somebody makes a play and then afterwards they're like, wow, this would have been so much better if I did this. And that occurs all the time. And this happens to me. Sometimes I play too fast. I do the same exact thing. But if you keep a focus on taking your time and thinking through your plays, then you're going to do a lot better. Acting out your turn in the wrong order. The most common example of this is drawing your cards after you've already made a play. You should always draw your cards earlier. If you see that in the forecast of your plays, if you're going to Hammer of Wrath something, if you're going to Cult Master trade in some minions, you always need to do that first because you may draw something that's going to change the order in which your plays are going to be. Like, that's very important. I see that mistake happen all the time, and then they draw something that's like, wow, that actually may have been good this turn. I wish I drew first. So that's the most common example that I can use for that. Another example would be like RNG effects, maybe like a Knife Juggler, for example. Maybe you need to attack an Acolyte of Pain first with your Knife Juggler and then summon minions, and that way the knives obviously don't give him an insane amount of cards if they hit the Acolyte of Pain. There's a lot of different examples for that. Just make sure that you're doing your stuff in the right order. Not thinking about your next turn's play. I see this mistake happen all the time. They look at their hands and they say, okay, this is what's best for this turn. They're not thinking about what's going to happen in the next turn, and that is something that really needs to affect your current turn. That should be always on your mind. Every single turn, you need to be thinking about, what am I going to do next turn? A good example of this is talking about the coin. If you have the coin and your turn 1 rolls around, you have a 2-drop in your hand, a lot of people want to coin out that 2-drop. Well, if you don't have another 2-drop in your hand, that is absolutely the wrong play, and you should almost always never do that unless you absolutely have to. This also includes the mulligan process. You need to be thinking about what you're going to be doing in your first 3 to 4 turns and try to mulligan cards exactly for that. If you need help with that, I do have a video on that in the description. Another example of this would be maybe you don't want to use a Fiery War Axe this turn because you're not going to attack with it. Well, maybe if your next turn is spending up to your maximum mana, let's say you're throwing out an Ogre, for example, well, maybe this turn it's wise to throw on that Fiery War Axe this turn, maybe not attack, you'll just plan for it for next turn because you're going to be spending up to your maximum mana. You're not going to be able to get that Fiery War Axe for at least 2 turns. Overextending when having a lead. This mistake I see happen all the time, and of course this is relevant to the class you're playing, but almost every single class has their type of AoE clear, outside of Warrior maybe. Well, there is Brawl. A lot of people, when they get ahead, they're like, alright, let's just keep pumping out minions, pumping out minions. But you need to think about, how do I lose this game? They already need to clear my board, so they need to clear this board to win the game. why not hold on to some of my threats so that way if they clear it, I come back with a bunch of threats. A lot of people just run their hand out of gas, and then if they do get clear, they just lose the game right there. So that's a big mistake that I noticed that costs a lot of people games. Not playing around very common class cards like Flame Strike, Swipe, Consecration. Consecration is a good example because a lot of people see Flame Strike and a lot of people do play around that card, but Consecration, Swipe, those are cards that you don't see a lot of people play around, and I'm not really sure why. A lot of times when you're looking at what minions to attack, a lot of times you want to keep your stuff out of the 2 health region if possible, so you're playing around Consecration. There's a lot of little plays like that that will help you in the future. Maybe that even means killing off one of your minions instead of dropping down one of your minions to 2 health, and that's a play that you should really think about a lot of times. The last one is not wanting to play cards where you're not going to get the maximum value out of that card. For example, a lot of people would want to play Armor Up on their turn 2 rather than playing an empty Cruel Taskmaster. You're not getting value out of the battle cry at all. You're just playing a 2/2. I almost 100% of the time disagree with that, and I think you should be playing that 2/2 on the board. Tempo is one of the most important factors in Arena, and I really can't stress that enough. A lot of people don't seem to grasp that until they're able to reach the upper levels of Arena, and they see how important it is to be playing something on every single turn. Those are some of the biggest mistakes that I've noticed in Arena gameplay. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel. If you want to get lessons for yourself, you know where to find me. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good one.
There's more to you than you ever thought there was. Yeah, you're coming from the light.
Ever consider getting yourself some Hearthstone lessons? Are you stuck at a rank on the ladder? Do you want to see your Arena gameplay improve? Do you like my channel and want to see it grow? Consider getting Hearthstone lessons from me. Contact info is in the description.